Hello everyone, this is Mono. And since my analytics say that the videos where I talk about me suffering are the ones that get clicked on more than the ones where I showcase anything I'm actually good at, why don't I indulge in talking about another weird and wild story today? Good thing I'm completely desensitized. This story is about the time I met someone in real life. Yeah, you heard me. The grass-touching realm itself, who was both eerily creepy and eerily knowledgeable about Sonic Twitter. I guess this video is like a Let's Talk Boundaries Sonic Community Part 2, because this is yet another lesson for the Sonic fandom on how you should not treat people, but this time you have to use your human avatar and not a diet furry with a badonkadonk. So for a little bit of background and context, I have a full-time job in a warehouse. There isn't a dress code besides don't wear anything scandalous and don't wear anything that'll get you swallowed by a death machine, so I wear a lot of Sonic shirts in order to meet my quotas fast and outrun the conveyors. I'm kidding, but this story occurred during the first week I got hired. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, he still works there, yuck. But thank the heavens I haven't run into him in a few weeks. For this video, we'll be calling today's subject the Sonic Creep. Let's get moving. Our story starts with my orientation day at the warehouse. The warehouse likes to bring in a bunch of people for orientation all at once, making us into this big class. On this day, I was wearing my Shadow the Hedgehog shirt. Kind of like a good luck charm. Cheesy, but comforting. My day started pretty normally. I got my badge, sat down with my class in the lobby, and waited for our teachers to get started. But just before the last person walks in, some guy goes, "Hey, nice shadow shirt." And I say, "Thanks," thinking that would be the end of it. I was so wrong. Spoiler, that was not the end of it. The instructor goes over some basic stuff, making sure everyone has the bare minimum of safety gear and some company goodies, and then guides us to an actual classroom where we'll be doing most of our orientation. I decided to sit in the front row, in the seat nearest to the wall, trying to make sure I was in the best place considering my hearing issues without seeming like a total nerd. Plus, I didn't want anyone tall sitting in front of me and blocking my vision. So, I'm settling into my seat when the guy from before decides to sit next to me. At the time, I still didn't think anything of it. He asks, "So, you like Sonic?" I mean, yeah dude, I'm wearing the shirt. I would hope I like Sonic. Is Shadow your favorite character? Yes, I have a tattoo of him. Are you excited for Sonic X Shadow Generations? Yes. No alarm bells yet, although this guy was proving already to be super talkative. He just kept asking me all these Sonic questions, and just would not stop as the instructor began to talk. This is where I began to have an issue. I wasn't trying to be rude, but the guy was really distracting and messing with my ability to hear, anything. And I actually had some interest in this job for once. So I stopped responding much, hoping he'd take the hint, but we wouldn't be here if Sonic Creep could take a hint. Finally, after multiple minutes of him attempting to talk every single time the instructor finished a sentence, he eventually stops talking to me, instead choosing to constantly interrupt the instructor and interject his own knowledge of the company or whatever, just completely unprompted. And I began to feel just the tiniest spark of my temper. This guy made the presentation take so much longer. And it was extra awkward because everyone else in the class was dead silent and refused to participate in the class at all. This guy was really just overspeaking the entire thing, and nobody was really saying anything about it. Oh, we also had to do one of those mandatory social activity things that I kinda loathe, where we'd go around the room and introduce ourselves and sign these papers that said we had X hobby or whatever. This dude. Okay, this is where the guy definitely had me irked. Instead of letting me get up and do the activity like anybody else, he immediately starts talking to me and starts going down the big list on his paper trying to see if I could put my name on his. Do you surf? No. Do you have a motorcycle? No, I wish. Have you traveled out of the country? No. Do you do this? Do you do that? Do you like this thing? No, 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 no. I think I actually ended up lying that I had done some random thing just so I could write my name, hoping he would leave me alone. But I was dead wrong. Even after he finally stopped quizzing me and got the little response on his paper that he needed. I mean, a person can only sign your paper once, then you have to move on. But you know what? He still wouldn't stop talking to me. Thankfully, a couple of people actually walked over to me, so I managed to get a few more signatures for the activity, but I ended up not finishing it because of this guy. Like, yeah, it's a dumb social activity, yeah, I don't like it, but I wanted to get up and talk to literally anyone else in that room. So after this kerfuffle, we're let out for the first break. I thought I'd chill for a bit and cool down, kind of relax after that really annoying experience. But no, of course not. I don't get to do anything like that. This is where the Sonic creep goes from annoying to legitimately creepy. As I'm walking to the break room, and I am someone who walks fast, I go to my location, I don't dilly-dally. He is running to keep pace with me, and he's still trying to talk to me about Sonic. At no other point have I wished I was not into Sonic. Jesus. So I'm just like, yeah, cool, okay, nice. NPC responses because I really had to go pee and was more focused on finding a bathroom. I get to the break room and go to the bathroom in the back.
I can't even go to the bathroom without some pony trying to tell me how cool I am.
When I exit the bathroom, Sonic Creep is standing around at the front of the break room. Okay, I thought maybe he was just getting something to eat from the little market. No, I take a seat at the back since that was where I was, and Sonic Creep is staring at me. Once I sit down, the second I sit down, he immediately walks over and takes a seat across from me. Are you kidding me? I mean, excuse me? I literally caught this man waiting for me to leave the bathroom. And a lot of the ensuing yap sesh from Sonic Creep is a blur to me, but that whole time I sat there and just endured that one-sided conversation. I mean, I was thinking about whether I needed to chat with HR or not. However, it was my first day, and I chose not to rock the boat, but I did decide I needed to be more careful around Sonic Creep from now on. Eventually, break ends, and I go back to the classroom. This time, I move my chair much further away from this guy. It changed absolutely nothing, of course. Instead, he just starts leaning into my space to talk to me. At this point, he surprisingly picks up on how he talks way too damn much, and how I've said less than 15 words to him. And he asks, "Am I being annoying?" I say, "Yeah, I don't like talking to people this much." Ladies, gents, theys and thems. It does not get much more clear than this. This is the first time Sonic Creep was directly and verbally told to back off. But that hint of self-awareness didn't last long. After some more learning about how not to get game-ended by robots and conveyor belts, we're let out for lunch. As we're getting up to leave the classroom, Sonic Creep asks me, "Are you staying inside for break?" I say, "Yeah, probably," knowing damn well I'm going right outside. And luckily, Sonic Creep was either buying food or using the bathroom or something because I managed to slip away and get outside without him following me or noticing. Once I was out there, I proceeded to just let a couple of people know, "Hey, I got this creep at work, this is kind of worrying." But there, I managed to have my first uneventful, pleasant, relaxing break in silence. Well, almost silence. There were a couple of long-timers sitting there smoking who asked me if I was new, and when I said yes, they said, "Welcome to hell." I mean, thanks. They were chill though, I liked them. But unfortunately, all peaceful breaks come to an end. Once I got settled back in the classroom again, I vowed I was done speaking to Sonic Creep. He'd already proven he didn't care about making me uncomfortable and over-speaking, and the attempts to follow me around were really creeping me out, so I let him keep talking with zero acknowledgement. I figured the pettiness was deserved at this point. Thankfully, the rest of that day went off without a hitch, with me just ignoring the guy, and when I went to leave, I made sure I went out a different door. Day 2 was something else, though. I made the mistake of saying hi back to him when he greeted me, and we were right back to the same old awful, one-sided chatter. But this time, he wasn't talking as much about Sonic. Instead, just making these really annoying comments that were kind of like the equivalent of, "Well, that just happened." Just really, really annoying little quips about every single little uneventful thing that happened, and staring at me for a reaction each time. For example, he said something like, "Haha, I don't remember anything from the classroom." Yeah, dude, probably because you paid zero attention. You're not funny, dude. Oh my god, shut up. Also, at this point, he straight up started repeating his oh so clever MCU-esque quips when I wouldn't acknowledge him, so I just got to hear it over and over again. Really lovely. It also didn't help that on this day, we were touring the warehouse, meaning I was trying to listen to our tour guide who was relaying important safety information through all of the loud ambient noise of the warehouse. I mentioned my hearing before, so to be more specific, I have auditory processing issues, aka APD. I won't go into depth, but basically, due to all the crossed wires in my brain, I can't always understand what other people are saying, even if my ears work fine. I often need people to repeat themselves a few times before my brain processes it. I often need people to repeat themselves a few times before my brain processes it. I often need people to repeat themselves a few times before my brain will process it correctly. APD is untreatable, and there's not much I can do about having it. Combine that with my sensory issues, and we've got a lovely cocktail of a highly sound-sensitive person who simultaneously manages to not understand a single word people say. Anyway, I avoid sensory overload at work by using earplugs, but at the time, I didn't have any. So, having Sonic Creep's tiny annoying comments in my ear constantly, on top of all that noise, drove me up a goddamn wall. It's funny, I haven't always been able to relate to other autistic people who explain how angry they get from sensory overload. As kids, my brother was kind of more the angry type, while I'd cry and occasionally go mute. But once I became an adult, I quickly began to understand what it's like to be pissed the hell off about sensory overload, especially if someone is actively making it worse no matter how much you try to get them to stop. And I'm not gonna say some dumb edgy crap like I'm holding my beast in or whatever, but it takes a lot of effort for me not to lash out at people like the Sonic Creep. I've never fought someone, but I'm not gonna pretend I'm some perfect nice person who's never impulsively pointed out someone's worst insecurities because they're pissing me off. For my first break, I managed to avoid him again, but the second break was where things got really weird. I know that most people who come up to me to talk about Sonic aren't as autistically obsessed as I am. So, thanks to a special interest in Pokemon spanning over 10 years and lots of awkward moments where I accidentally divulge too much Pokemon lore and weird someone out, I've learned to judge whether someone is into my interests in the normal way versus a fellow neurodivergent person who has a special interest in it. The conversations you can have between those two types of people vary very greatly. But anyway, Sonic Creep comes up to me and starts talking about Sonic X Shadow Generations again. Okay, fair, I mean, it's normal to know about upcoming releases for a series you like. But then he starts talking to me about a trailer which dropped on that day. And he starts talking about Sonic fans on Twitter complaining all the time, saying this and that and the third. And these complaints were nearly word for word with tweets I literally read a few hours before I came to work. At this point, I'm like, oh crap. I mean, I'm no big figure in the Sonic community or anything, but I don't want this guy to make some kind of connection between my real identity and my artist alias. Especially knowing I've had a few art pieces go beyond my circles before. I'm sure it sounds overly paranoid, and normally I wouldn't even care if somebody knew. But I don't know. Being an artist and now a content creator in the Sonic fandom, I don't need a creepy man from work knowing that information. And he already knew I draw because I take my sketchbook with me wherever I go. And I was trying to peacefully enjoy my break drawing before he decided to be annoying and interrupt me. Man, I have special beef with people who see someone drawing and assume it's prime time to start yapping in their ear. It's like bothering someone who's reading a book or wearing headphones, you just don't do it. But at this point, I'd reached my breaking point. I was sick and tired of Sonic Creep approaching me. I was sick of him trying to follow me around and wait outside of the bathroom for me. I was sick of him constantly pushing boundaries and trying to get physically close to me even though I constantly kept my distance. I hate coming to work, just for a man to start creeping on me for literally existing instead of letting me work and go home. I hate when men think persistence is the way to win a woman over, because it's not. It's the way to make women feel unsafe and intimidated, and it's not fair, because women deserve to work just as much as men do. On day 3, I snapped. Over the course of days 1 and 2, I had given Sonic Creep several verbal and nonverbal hints that I was not enjoying his advances. And look, I understand all too well what it's like to miss a few social cues, especially nonverbal ones, but that's why I made sure to ask him to leave me alone multiple times. At that point, I was convinced it was either intentional or he was just ignoring me. On day 3, my class had been given the okay to start working with the rest of the team, so I went upstairs to line up and find out where I was working. Sonic Creep, of course, cuts the line to get beside me and immediately tries to talk to me. And I was not having it. I was not being stationed anywhere near this guy. I'm never a loud person. I can never yell on command. But some force of nature must have been on my side in that moment, because loudly, I cut him off, and I said, "Will you please leave me alone?" I mean, hey, at least no one could say I was being rude. This caught the attention of several people, who were all now watching us. And that's all I needed. That was my goal. I just needed a few people to hear me and witness this, because I really did try to let the Sonic Creep down easy one-on-one, in a way that would not embarrass him. Several times. It never worked. But if there's one thing that dealing with creeps has taught me, it's that they don't like when you call attention to their antics publicly because it ruins their reputation. Nobody likes a creep. All I heard from him was, "Oh," as if he was surprised, as I walked away, went to the back of the line, and stayed far away from Sonic Creep. And thankfully, today's story pretty much ends there. Although I still have to work with Sonic Creep, he hasn't tried to speak to me since, although I do still catch him staring and trying to get stationed near me sometimes. It's gross and annoying, and it really sucks having to keep an eye out just to make sure he won't try to put himself near me, but at least I can hold my head up high knowing I managed to stand up for myself and got this guy to mostly leave me alone. However, it's fair to mention that it's not always this easy to deal with a creep, and you have to be very careful if you choose to confront someone like this, because some creeps will get aggressive or violent if attention is called to their behavior. I specifically chose to snap at the Sonic Creep in a very open area with several coworkers and supervisors present, just in case anything were to happen in that moment or in the future. But finally, I was able to enjoy my breaks in blissful, quiet peace. And since all this happened, I found a really cool coworker I try to hang out with whenever I see her. Plus, someone I'm close with is going to start working with me soon, so hopefully by not being alone, it'll discourage anyone else who wants to act up around me. I have to say, although I'm not the most socially inclined person myself, I've realized it's pretty important to find at least one cool coworker per job. Especially for us ladies, we've really got to stick together. I've had other jobs where I've been harassed, management was notified and didn't do anything, and the only reason I didn't just up and quit was because I had amazing coworkers who helped protect me from all of those people, and I always did the same for them. With all that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed me yapping about my suffering or the art in the background, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm insanely close to 1,000 subscribers, and I'd love to make that goal before the end of October. Bye-bye!